The art market often appears calm and refined. White walls, whispered conversations in auction halls, elegant clothes and quiet applause. But history shows us something very different. The real movement, the real opportunities, and the most fascinating stories emerge precisely during moments of crisis. In this video, we look at 3 different periods. The paintings that quietly changed hands during the Great Depression of 1929, the strange rise from empty museums to digital records during the pandemic, and moments in wartime when a single painting was valued as much as a human life. And in the end, we arrive together at one question. In times of crisis, does art truly belong to those who lose, or to those who wait? In the autumn of 1929, there was a strange silence on the streets of New York. People walked beneath skyscrapers, carrying the weight of money they no longer had. The stock market had collapsed, banks were closing, fortunes were disappearing overnight. But in the back rooms of the city, there was another world no one wanted to talk about. A collector closes the curtains of his living room. He stares at the painting on his wall for a long time. The golden frame still shines, but no one seems to notice its light anymore. These people did not appear in newspapers. They did not place public auction ads. The artworks were quietly wrapped, placed into crates, and carried out through back doors. In those days, in Paris, London, Berlin, many masterpieces changed hands far below their true value. No one spoke of investment. This was simply about survival. Imagine a dark auction hall. Most of the seats are empty. An auctioneer's voice echoes through the room, announcing a price. No hands are raised. And then, at some point, a painting is sold. A work that today is worth millions goes for only a few $1,000s. The crisis created panic, but at the same time, it opened a quiet door for those who were patient. "1929 was not only an economic collapse, it was a moment when people's faith in the future was shaken. People began asking a simple question: if we have no money, what does art even mean? Ironically, it was exactly at this moment that art became most vulnerable. A painting was no longer an aesthetic object, but a sellable asset, a luxury that could be sacrificed if necessary. And right there, some people began to think differently. They did not shout, they did not make headlines, they simply waited. The crisis became their teacher. They understood that the value of art does not appear in crowded moments, but in the moments when no one is looking. Almost 90 years later, the world stopped once again. This time, the cause was not a market crash, but an invisible virus. Planes were grounded, cities were locked down, and museums fell completely silent. The corridors of the Louvre in Paris were empty. The doors of MoMA in New York were closed. The paintings were still there, but the viewers were gone. Imagine a painting, a work passed by thousands of people every single day, now standing alone in a dimly lit hall. But at the same time, something else was happening. A laptop screen turns on, an online auction website loads, and the numbers on the screen begin to rise. People sitting at home in their pajamas were bidding millions of dollars on artworks. It was strange. While the world was burning, the art market was catching fire online. The pandemic changed the location of art. It moved it from walls to screens. And this time, alongside panic selling, record-breaking purchases were happening at the very same moment. Many people who bought art during the pandemic said the same thing. This wasn't an investment, it was a refuge. You couldn't go outside. The future was uncertain. But that painting on the screen, it offered a sense of order, a quiet room, a lonely person. On the screen, a Monet, a Rothko, or a contemporary work. During this period, art took on yet another identity. Not quite an investment, not quite a luxury. It became an emotional connection. And interestingly, as the crisis deepened, the value of certain works continued to rise. As if the market was whispering, chaos may be temporary, but stories endure. But perhaps the true test of art came during times of war. During World War II in Europe, paintings were not just artworks, they were identity, memory, sometimes even trophies. Imagine a foggy train station, nighttime, soldiers' boots echoing on stone floors. Wooden crates are being loaded. Inside those crates, there are no weapons, there are paintings, a Rembrandt, a Vermeer, an unknown master. Some works were rolled up, some were torn from walls. Some were hidden in dark cellars for years. People risked their lives to save a painting, because that painting represented a nation's past. And when the war ended, some works returned, some disappeared, and some reappeared years later in unexpected places. The crisis was clear here as well. But who did the opportunity belong to? Those who protected art, or those who exploited the chaos? (1929), the pandemic, the war years, 3 different eras, 3 different crises, but the same pattern. When a crisis arrives, not everyone reacts the same way. Some run, some sell, some freeze, and some simply watch. Perhaps this is why the art market is so fascinating, because it moves less by numbers and more by human psychology. A painting can lose its value in a moment of panic, and sometimes, at that exact moment, it comes closest to its true worth. Maybe art is a mirror showing us who we really are during times of crisis. When we look at the world today, economic uncertainty, wars and crises are still with us, and art is still there, on walls, on screens, inside crates. So perhaps it is time to ask this question. Is a crisis in the art market truly an ending, or simply the moment when the story changes direction? Maybe the real issue is not the crisis itself, but the way we choose to look at it. If this video gave you a new perspective, don't forget to like it, and consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. See you in the next video.